Welcome back. Now, 2021 saw some of the biggest political conferences across the world taking place, and none came bigger than COP26 in Glasgow.
Yes, that's right. With over 35,000 international delegates descending on the city, the stakes for a successful outcome were extremely high. Now, this was highlighted by the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, claiming the event was a last-chance saloon for the planet.
So, what are the successes of COP26 and what will this mean for climate policy this year? Well, to discuss this, we're joined by Simon West of the Word Forest Organisation. Good afternoon, Simon. I just want to ask you then, how much of a success do you think COP26 really was then, looking back?
I think COP26 could not be seen as a success. There are lots of policy changes that we would all like to see, those of us who are concerned about the climate, which I think is probably just about everybody. COP26 was pitched as by Greta Thunberg as being a lot of blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, the agreement was so badly watered down that it simply won't achieve what we all hoped that it would. I think most scientists, including our own special scientific advisor, Professor Bill Maguire, believe we are not going to achieve net zero by 2050, and we are not going to limit climate change and global heating to 1.5 degrees. There's just no way we're going to achieve that. So there are many things that we would all like to see the government do. For example, Sorry,
sorry to interrupt. I was just going to ask you, what do you think the solution is? I mean, what do we need to see happening if we're going to meet our net zero targets?
Oh, I think there's quite a few things. The big one that I would like to see, first of all, is to see the UK government stop subsidising the fossil fuel industry through tax breaks and subsidies for research and exploration to the tune of over £10 billion a year. If they invested that money in further expansion of our amazing renewable sector and pumped more money into innovation in energy storage, then that would make a massive difference. They could also reskill our thousands of gas central heating fitters so that they can transition to zero carbon systems. Lots of things that they can definitely do to make a big difference.
I just wonder, you say that it hasn't been a success, COP26, looking back on the year, but actually some people might say that it's good that we're talking about the climate and actually getting a discussion out there and getting messages out there. Would you agree that actually, by the government having this event, in a sense, that's quite good that we're actually talking about this and putting it on a national stage, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we all have to realise, and most of us have come to realise, is that governments can make some changes, but it's going to be down to us, to the little changes that we make. For example, this month is Veganuary, and the government could make a change by providing better support for farmers who are making very little money in animal agriculture to help them transition to plant-based agriculture. So yes, it's a success in that it's got us talking about climate change in a much better way. I just think the agreement could have been a lot stronger.
Do you think, instead of a big event where, thousands of people are gathering, that we need to be doing more to get in touch with everyday people and encouraging them to make those little changes that you just mentioned there?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we would really like to see, we saw the government produce a daily broadcast when the pandemic COVID-19 first struck, and they were coming on our television every single day. Well, why aren't they doing a similar broadcast every single day to talk about what they're actually doing to tackle climate change? It's a far bigger threat to humanity than the pandemic. It threatens millions and millions and millions of people, and yet we don't see what the government is doing. Maybe they are doing the right things, but we need to know this. We need to be advised on what we can do. We need to be constantly pressured in saying, have you done everything you can to draft-proof your house? Have you done everything you can to insulate it? Possibly giving more support for people who want to insulate, want to do better things, but don't know what to do. So yeah, I think we do need to get more people talking about it. And I think the fact that you've had me on your programme 3 times now, not on your programme, but on GB News 3 times, is great, because we can all talk about it. You are talking about it on GB News. They're talking about it on the other mainstream news channels. That's a very good thing.
Yeah, it's a good step towards talking about this on a much wider and national level. It's good to have you on, Simon, as well. I just want to ask you, looking back on 2021, obviously there were some big issues, big discussions happening that affect the climate. Obviously, the coal mine in Cumbria, just as one example. Looking into this year now, what do you think the big issues are in the UK that need addressing in terms of our climate and looking after our planet?
I think everything is driven by money, and moving money around to the places that do the most good would be a really first class thing. For example, we all have our pensions and they're all invested in things that make lots of profit. Well, a lot of that comes from fossil fuels. If we can divest our pensions, if the government can divest all public sector pensions, that would make a big difference. We could make funds more readily available to people working on the front line. The charity that I work for, the Word Forest organisation, we find it very difficult to get access to small pots of money. You know, they all talk about, oh, well, we've got these big climate funds and you can start at £200 million. Well, we're not in that game, so we can't get access to any money. If we could get access to money to start small scale planting and get lots of charities who are doing that, that would make a massive difference. And finally, stop talking about climate change like they've already solved it. Focus on the real positive actions to make us the world leaders in all of the different things that we know we can be. I think that would be a massive difference that I would hope our government do this year.
It's lovely to hear from you this morning, Simon. Thank you so much for joining us today.